Shopping, working, and relaxing online can attract various digital threats. To improve your protection against them, just turn on NordVPN. This cybersecurity app will block web trackers and malware-infected sites. It will also encrypt your internet traffic without losing a smooth connection. Get NordVPN now. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.
So that's good. So Catherine, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Excellent. Happy new season, Jonathan. Good to talk to you as always. You've been through lots of pre-seasons over the years. How is this one compared to maybe some of the others that you've had in the past?
It's been good, really, really good. We've had a strong training camp in Austria. We've put some work in at the training ground here, so it's been a very successful time for us, and we've needed it because the club's been up and down, and there's been things behind the scenes that haven't been at the proper structure. But now we've had 6-7 weeks of getting the lads together, building something that we think is going to be successful, and them 6 or 7 weeks have come in really handy for the squad, the manager, and the players, everyone involved.
A lot of hard graft?
Definitely, yeah. It hasn't been easy. We've put the hard yards in, and hopefully it pays off.
Have you had opportunity to have a bit of fun in pre-season as well? Because it's important, that kind of side of things, to get to know your teammates better.
We've had some team bonding sessions, let's say that. So I think we've done some kayaking and stuff like that, and we've been out for a meal or two and stuff like that. So the team bond has been really successful. Everyone's together and everyone's on the same page.
Does it feel like a fresh start?
It does, yeah. It does. It feels like the club's come alive again, if I'm being honest.
Because at the end of last season, it was well documented, the previous head coach felt that there were problems within the dressing room as well. Is that fair to say, and does it feel a lot different to that now?
It does feel a lot different, yeah. I think the new manager's come in, and he's made it clear of what he wants, the standards that he set, and everyone on board, come on board. If you're not on board, then you won't be involved and you won't be part of the squad. So the lads have all bought into it. We've all, like I said, all pulling in the same direction and hopefully going forward.
What do you think is going to be the key to success in League One then?
It's going to be hard work. We all know that. There's going to be times in the year where you're going to have blips in form and stuff like that. But we all know we've got a lot of experienced players who's been in League One and obviously played at a high level. So we know, with all the experience combined together, it's going to help us. We know there's going to be ups and downs all season, so it's hopefully there's more ups than there's downs.
Who do you think is going to be your main competition to get back up at the first attempt?
Well, everyone looks at Birmingham and what they've done in the transfer market. Massive club, big investors from America, so they're going to be, I'm sure, the favourites. I'm not sure, I've never looked, to be honest, but them Rotherham's just come down there. They've had success of going up and down, so yeah, that as a club is good experience for them. But there's teams like Bolton, Peterborough, our first game. There's going to be challenges all through the season.
And of course, the media darlings of Wrexham as well.
Exactly.
Do you expect them to be quite a force in League One again?
Yeah, there's teams that even the teams on a Tuesday night where are going to be down the bottom, they're going to be tough fixtures too. So we need to be ready for all the circumstances that's coming.
When the squad numbers were announced, it was also made public that you obviously continue as club captain, but as part of a leadership group now involving, I think, another 5 or 6 players alongside you. Can you just talk to me a little bit more about what that actually means and your understanding of how that will work?
It's more of we'll get together once or twice a week, 5 or 6 lads, like you said, different ages, different personalities, and just instead of just coming from myself, it's going to come from 5 or 6 different people, their different opinions, because we all don't think the same thing. We all see different things, and how people deal with it is different. So we can all get in a room, sit down, go through bits that need what are good, some bits that are bad. We'll all come together and we'll come up with a plan.
Was that Michael Duff's suggestion to do that, or is that something that you guys have come up with you as players?
I think the new manager, I'd probably put a part in that. Mark has been a part of it too. So yeah, I think as a club, I think it's going to do as well.
As you say, it's always good to have opportunities to share ideas. Is it a lot about accountability as well?
Yeah, it's just things that I might not pick up on. I can't pick up on everything in the dressing room, what happens on the pitch at the training ground and stuff like that. So it's just basically a group that's going to sit down, come together and pick points and go through the good things, the bad things and what we can improve on.
You mentioned the fact that it's Peterborough away opening game. What do you expect from them, and how important is it to get a good start in this division? It's
going to be important. It is going to be important. We know it's going to be a tough fixture away at Peterborough. They're an attacking style team, play on the front foot, but on the other side they'll leave spaces what we can exploit. We've watched some clips of them. We're going to see some more tomorrow, so we'll get their strengths and their weaknesses and make sure that we're ready for them.
You've been doing this a long time now. Don't want to say too long for fear of upsetting you. But do you still get that same sense of excitement now ahead of a new season as you maybe did however many years ago?
Yeah, I'm buzzing for it, and I can't wait. Like it's been 6 or 7 weeks of hard work, like you said, and now time has come. Really, the next couple of days it's going to be all off and running. The lads are excited for it. Like you said, we've put the hard yards in, and now we're just ready for the season to start.
And we're going to see plenty of you on the pitch this season.
I hope so. Yeah, that's why I'm working hard as any other man down there. We're all fighting for the shirt. We've all got aims and goals that we want, and I want to play as much as possible, yeah.
I ask that not in a cheeky way, but I suppose because as you look towards the sort of latter years of your career, and whether you would maybe look further down the line to move into a more coaching role, whether that maybe would be more of a priority, but clearly not. You want to be out there doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing's changed for me. I'm not a year older like everyone else, but I'm still here. I'm still fighting for the shirt, and I'll do that as every day.
Best of luck for the season, Jonathan. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. We'll move to Stephen from the Australians.
Hi, Jonathan. You say the club feels like it's come alive again. What differences have you noticed over the past few weeks?
Since the start of pre-season, when the managers came in, he's been very clear on what he wants, instructions, style of play, do's and don'ts. And the lads have bought into it, and the lads seem together. I think the last couple of years there's been things happening on and off the field that sometimes players can't get involved in, but from a dressing room point of thing, I think this is the closest dressing room we've had for 5 or 6 years, I think.
We've seen some differences around the stadium as well. Literally, the dressing room itself has been revamped. Do things like that, when you've had the season you've just had, coming into a new one, you want that fresh start, does that sort of help reset your mind and help you, as a squad to move on?
The changes at the club have been fantastic. Like you said, the dressing room, the training grounds, we had all new gym facilities, the pitches, everything around the town. Everyone's buzzing again. We've been relegated. It seems really strange. That fair play to Kevin. He's come and spoke, and he's backed himself. Like some clubs get relegated and they think, oh, we'll just wait for this to get promoted again. But Kevin hasn't. He's gone the other way and he said, let's go. Like plans don't change. So a big fair play to him. He's put his hand in his pocket and he's delivered. Now it's time for the players, the squad, the fans and everyone to get behind it and deliver back.
You mentioned Peterborough as one of those teams who are going to be pushing. Obviously they were in the playoff semi-final last year as well. Is this for you an opportunity maybe to make a statement in this division, taking on a team like that straight off the bat? Yeah,
I think it'll be good for us because we've had some tough fixes in pre-season. Like I said, the boys are ready. We're ready to go. So we know Peterborough are going to be there or thereabouts top 6. So it'll be a good test for us. We'll go down there and we'll give it our best.
As you say, the team has looked quite different on the pitch this summer as well. Obviously, carrying that into the season itself is another matter. But we've got the new lads in. We've seen players like, for instance, Ben Wiles, I think looks a different player to last season. Is that the new manager? Is it having that 6-week break before you came back to training? Is it a bit of everything?
I think it's more than one thing. I think the new manager coming in, giving everyone a fresh page, a fresh start, that always helps. and believing in players and giving them a chance. I think that's Marzy's took it with both hands. The new players have come in. I think all 3 or 4 of them have been fantastic signings, and they're going to be a big part of our success this year.
That's all from me. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. We'll move to Zoom and Leon from the Yorkshire Post. Hello.
Hello, David. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, mate.
You must. When the manager came in, I know he spoke about he had an early conversation with you to sort of garner your thoughts about what's happened at the club and this and that. You must have really appreciated that as a senior sort of professional, and so you got your relationship up and running straight away.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I had a call with the manager before we came back into pre-season, so I was already on the same page as him. But yeah, it's always nice to have a chat with him and in face and in person, and meet each other and welcome each other. Yeah.
He seems to be. I mean, I've known Michael before Baz. He seems to be your sort of guy. There's no, there's no grey areas. It's black and white with him. There's no sort of rubbish with him, and it seems to be. A lot of people might think he's exactly what the club has probably needed. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think everything you've said there is right. He's an honest bloke. He's down to earth and he's hard working, and I think that's what we needed. And certainly getting relegated, that's what the club needed. As a football club, we need to move forward, and getting them kind of people into the club is always going to benefit us.
I mean, obviously it was a team-wise, club-wise difficult last season, and individually as well for players. You got your own motivations to turn it around. Must have been frustrating for you. You were injured right at the end and stuff like that. I mean, you got a collective responsibility and an individual responsibility to turn the ship around, haven't you? Yeah, that's what we're all going to do. We're going to all give it our best shot, and everyone's in the same boat, and we all want the same thing, which is promotion again. Yeah. Yeah, what do you say about the division? I mean, you've got to be humble that you've all dropped down into League One, but there's a pride, obviously, in you to try and get out at the first time of asking as well. It obviously won't. It'll be very hard, but you don't want to be. You respect the division, but you don't want to be playing there for longer than you have to, really. No, we don't. We know it's going to be a tough season for us. All the other teams in it too, and we know we've got to step up, and we'll be up there with one of the favourites, and we need to make sure we don't let ourselves down. I'll leave it to it. Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you.
Top man.
Cheers, we'll finish with Jim. Jim, welcome.
Well, Jonathan, I suppose at the start of the season, there's always a fear when a team suffers relegation that there will be wholesale changes to the squad, and the squad will be ripped up and you'll be started from afresh again. But that's not the case this time with Huddersfield. You have most of your senior players on board. How important is that heading into a new season, that there isn't drastic changes to a squad?
I think it's massively important. I really do. And fair play to the club for being able to keep hold of the players. Getting relegатed's not nice. It's on everyone's CV, and let's be honest, people don't want to sign players that have just been relegated. So fair play to the club. We need to now give back to the club and get this club back promoted and put that on our CV and put the club back in the Championship.
Yeah, and Jonathan, we know about teams, League One. We've seen so many teams throughout the years. Bolton Wanderers are a classic example. Derby County, Sheffield Wednesday for a number of years. Big, massive clubs, big stadiums, big reputations. But there's a thing there, if you don't get up within the first start of season, it can become a sort of a rush. You can sort of get hanging around that 6th or 7th sort of spot before pushing on. And how important is it really to try and go for the gun, as the saying goes, in terms of getting off the start of the season, go full blast and don't ease off?
Well, that's what we're going to go into the season and try and do. Yeah, we're going to go full throttle, try and get wins on the board early and get up the top of the table, and let's keep going. There's no limits. The manager hasn't put any limits on the squad. We can go out there, play a freedom and get points and win, and that's what everyone wants, and that's what we've all been working hard for, and it's going to be important. Like you said, once you're in this league for more than 1 or 2 years, then you do start to lose more senior players. But now we've got the majority of the senior players together. We've added 3 or 4 fresh faces and bits of quality that we needed, and we're just going to try and kick on.
And final question for me, Jonathan. I suppose many years we've seen foreign managers come into clubs and in the Championship, and even in sort of League One, the clubs have gone out with an ambitious sort of route. But you have a manager on board, it's a new manager, but a manager with vast experience of competing in League One, of getting results, of are fighting it out in terms of the top of the table in League One. How important is that for players as well, that you know you have a manager that has experienced this level of football, has experienced what it takes in terms of getting results in this division as well? It's almost a tried and trusted recipe.
Yes, it is. It is, and like you said, he's been there and he's done it, and he's played at a high level as a player. He's got the experience from that side of it, so he can read players and how they're feeling and stuff, and when they're having blips and when they're playing really well, how to keep them on side. And managing, he's been up there again, so it's a fantastic recipe to have for the club and for the players, because he's going to bring a lot of experience on and off the field.
Cheers, Jonathan.
No problem.
Thanks, Jim. We'll be back with Michael around 3 o'clock, guys. Thank you.
Shopping, working, and relaxing online can attract various digital threats. To improve your protection against them, just turn on NordVPN. This cybersecurity app will block web trackers and malware-infected sites. It will also encrypt your internet traffic without losing a smooth connection. Get NordVPN now. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day. shopping, working, and relaxing online can attract various digital threats. To improve your protection against them, just turn on NordVPN. This cybersecurity app will block web trackers and malware-infected sites. It will also encrypt your internet traffic without losing a smooth connection. Get NordVPN now. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.
Superb. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks for your patience.
Michael, 3 months then in the job, ready and raring to go.
Yeah, I think so. You always want more time to prep and plan, but ultimately, really excited to get going now. The real work starts. I think the pre-season's been pretty good in terms of getting the group together. Still would like a couple more bodies in the building, but you never get everything you want for the start. Still 3 weeks to go, but no, really happy with the application of the staff and the players, and being open to a new voice and new ideas.
Has it been what you expected so far, or any surprises?
There's been no nasty surprises. Some of the surprises have been good, in terms of, like you said, there was a lot of noise about the group when I first came in. So you're always a little bit wary of, but you take people as you find them. And as far as I've been concerned, there's been everyone's been in great from above, the staff and the players and the supporters as well. So I'm fully aware that we haven't won a game yet of any note, but it's been really, really pleasing and really appreciated since I've come in.
Just speaking to Jonathan Hogg, and he said that he felt the dressing room, the squad now was probably as together as it's maybe been in the last 5 or 6 years. How important was that element of pre-season for you to make sure that everybody was together and ready as a united front?
Well, there's been a bit of soul searching from everyone. There's, like I said, outside influences, outside noise. Ultimately, most of the group were in a team that got relegated. So it's how do you want to react? Do you want to blame everyone else, or do you want to take a little bit of ownership of it? What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? And how can we correct it? That's part of my job, is to try and sort of fact find almost, and get to the bottom of it. Now, it's easy. This is the honeymoon period because you've not had to pick a team and you've not lost a game. So we're fully aware of that you are in that period, and that's when you've got to stress to the players that it can't be okay for the first week. If you think it's right in the first week of pre-season, it's because you're saying it because you think it's right. Well, just because you maybe don't get picked in a team or the team loses, it can't all of a sudden be about you and your agenda. It's something I'm really, really big on, that you'll achieve nothing as an individual in this game. You need 10 other people with you. Well, you need another 30. Well, we took 50 people on pre-season, but there's 11 on the pitch. They're the important ones on a Saturday. During the week, everyone's just as important as each other. So the moment players start making it about them, or an issue between me and you, or a player against a player, nothing good comes of it, and ultimately that reflected in the relegation last year. So it's just trying to knit that together and get to the bottom of it.
You know League One inside out better than any of us. What can we expect from League One football?
It'll be a tough league this year. There's leagues within leagues, so the Championship, the probably smallest attendance you're going to go to is a 16,000. They're all nice stadiums. Here you've got some big clubs, ambitious clubs who want to, as we are one of them. Then you've got to go to places, like Cambridge, like Crawley, where they're just as motivated, and I've been one of those smaller teams in the league, and they're the ones you've got to be prepared for, because it's easy to go to a Birmingham or a Bolton where the surroundings are familiar. I'm not saying it's easy to get a result, but I'm talking about the environment that you're walking into and the support base. The different test from this group will be you've got to go to places where, well, outside you'd be just expected to win, but it's not quite that easy. Like I said, I've been at the bottom end, and when I was at Cheltenham, we used to go to places like Huddersfield and Ipswich and Charlton, and we used to love upsetting the apple cart. So it's preparing the players for that side of it, and there are some big clubs in it as well.
There's a lot of focus inevitably on Birmingham and the money that they've spent. There's always going to be a lot of focus on Wrexham and the Hollywood glitz and glamour that goes with that. looking at kind of where people are pitching Huddersfield, the expectation is definitely you will be there or thereabouts, but maybe not the biggest fish. Is that where you feel is about right? Are you comfortable with maybe being up there with the favourites, but not outright favourites to go back up automatically?
You've got to be comfortable because you've just been relegated. So you're always going to be one of the favourites. But that's just talk. And I've said this to the players. Peterborough's a perfect example. They've sold quite a few players, but they've turned down multi-million-pound bids for players that are still there. We've just taken Lasse Sorensen, Herbie Kane and Anthony Evans out of League One, and I think the players have already realised they're all good players. So there's a lot of good players at this level. So the badge, the size of the stadium counts for nothing. It's togetherness, it's ability, enthusiasm, all the things that build a winning sort of environment. So there'll be more expectation. That's part of the job is shifting the mindset of the football club in terms of the last couple of years, 3, 4 years, well, probably 10 out of the last 12 years have been survival. Don't get beat. We need to shift the whole mentality of the football club. Take the responsibility, put your shoulders back without an arrogance and go, all right, well, if that's expected of us, we have to deliver. But it's educating the players and even the supporters of what does it take to deliver week in, week out. Not a flash in the pan. I'm not a big one for high fives when you win one game of football. The big celebrations are for the end of a season. That's when the real celebrations take place. But it's 10 months down the line. So there's you'll get used to a lot of sound bites that I use. But we do try and win the next half. Try and win every half and pop your head up, see where we're at, get your head down. Right, what do we need to adjust? What do we need to be better at? What can we improve at? And then you just keep going like that. But no, the expectation from everyone at the football club is can we bounce back?
Let's talk squad. No manager you ever talk to will not say, I'd like a couple more. Would you like a couple more additions before the end of the window? We spoke to Jake Edwards at the start of this week, and he made no secret of the fact that looking at a striker was something that they are focusing on. Is that an area where you feel you maybe could do with a bit more reinforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. You asked me the first of next month and go, would you like one more? And I'm like, yeah. And you could have every player you wanted in the building. You'll always find one more. But I think we are probably a couple short. But there's still 3 weeks now. Like you said, there's people going to realise they're not in the team, whether it's at our club or whether it's at other clubs. So things move quite quickly now. The Premier League big boys, they're starting to come back from the 2-week holiday that they've had after the Euros, which they don't get a lot, those fellas. But so a lot of the pre-season tours, there's a lot of younger Premier League players that they take with them, and then there's a fallout from there. So I do think we need a couple more. But we've known that a long time. It's not been through a lack of effort, but we need to make sure they're the right ones as well.
Any chance of any new faces before Saturday?
No.
Any interest from elsewhere that you're having to fend off for players that you want to keep?
Not that I'm aware of. There's always going to be interest in your players. Well, if you think you've got good players, I quite often say it to players, do you think you're a good player? Yeah, well, get used to having a bit of interest around you then. So I'm sure there is interest in a few of the players, but as far as I'm aware, we've not had any bid that I've been made aware of.
And is that a conversation that you've had with either the owner or the board to say, you know what, we don't actually have to sell anybody if it's a player that you want to keep, they're going nowhere?
I think there's a tipping point always. I never met Jack Rodoni. So if you'd asked me when I walked in the door, I'd like to keep Jack Rodoni, but it was a good deal for both parties. He wanted to play as high as he can, and the club got a good deal. So it's not a case of, if a player doesn't want to be here, we just got to get rid of him. It's never that. They need to match what the club thinks they're worth. That was a deal that they thought was. So, I want to keep everyone. But as a head coach and not a manager, certain things get taken out of my hands when it gets to a certain level. But we've said it all pre-season. I think we've been true to our words so far. There hasn't been a fire sale. It's completely different to when I was at Barnsley, where I think at this point we'd sold 4 or 5, and we started the season and there was probably another 3 or 4 that were inevitably going to leave. I'm not saying that won't happen, but that's not been put on my radar yet.
How do you think you'll feel then? First game in charge, got to wait till 5:30, which we could probably all do without, honestly. But how do you think you'll feel walking this team out as manager of Huddersfield Town for the first time on Saturday?
I think, well, pride's always it's not easy to become a manager. So there's always pride of walking any team out, particularly a team that you're proud of walking in front of. You spent a lot of time and effort trying to get them to reflect what you want and probably your personality. We haven't got there yet because we've not played a game, like I said. But that's what you want. There's been a real good feel around the place. As I said before, the application of the players has been first class in training. Doesn't guarantee your results, but it helps if you're doing the work during the week. And one thing they have been doing is they have been working.
And how important is it for you to hit the ground running? There is a real feel-good factor, as you say, around the club at the moment. It feels like a fresh start to just make sure that momentum continues with ideally a win on the opening day.
Well, ideally, that happens. You've got to react. You can't become too emotional. It's if we win, great. Why did we win? What can we get better at? And we lose, it's exactly the same process. It's, in my job, the world I live in, it's a really reactive world now with social media. Have I seen the team improve from the start of pre-season to the end of pre-season? Yeah. So how can we keep improving? Results are a byproduct of what you're doing in the week. Say it all the time. Results look after itself. It's the processes that you put in place. And as long as that's still chugging along, hopefully results will go the right way. So, yes, you'd like it. It's not imperative. But as long as we see a learning curve, hopefully the results will come.
Best of luck. Thank you, Michael.
Cheers.
Thanks, Catherine. We'll go to Stephen from We Are Terriers next.
Hi, Michael. You've had, I'm not sure what your position is on telling us about injuries, but you were missing Ollie Turton, Bojan Radulovic over the past few weeks. How are they looking ahead of Saturday?
Ollie's fit. Ollie's been training with us for the last couple of weeks now. Well, and in Austria, got minutes in us. He was injured whilst we were out there. Yeah. Bojan was injured when we went to Austria. We thought it was more beneficial for him to get back, to stay back and rehab, because we had 3 games in 6 days, so it's difficult to rehab on your own. You could get some team football with the younger lads, but Bojan's out for probably about 6 weeks. Played in a bounce game last Friday, scored 3 goals in 28 minutes and pulled his groin. So, it was good that we were getting minutes into him, but it's just sort of where he's at the minute. You can't keep him on the grass, so it's a disappointment for him. It's a disappointment for us. But yeah, so he definitely won't be in contention.
Yeah, that's a pity. Have you had any new issues that you're willing to share with us at all?
No, clean. Other than that, clean. Obviously, Bolker. Yeah. But yeah, nothing new.
Do you see Peterborough? Obviously, we're in the playoffs last year. Do you see this as an opportunity, as much as it's sort of a tough way to get started, an opportunity to put a marker down for where you are for this season?
It's difficult because if you win, you go, yeah, that's a good marker. But if you lose, I'm going to go, well, it's not that important. It's the first game of the season. We want to win.
Yeah. So
we want to win every game. Yeah. So there's no point getting away from the fact. But I don't think anyone, I think Barnsley won 7-0 first game of last season. But doesn't mean they're automatically going to win the league because they won 7-0. So it's staying level, staying calm, and trusting the things that we're putting in place that will hopefully get you results. But I think it's a good game for us, because a lot of our players won't know the players in the league. Mm-hmm. So, as I said to you, I've already told our players, we've just signed 3 really good players out of League One. Harrison Burrows was very, very good for Sheffield United last year, who was at Peterborough, and they've turned down a lot of money for quite a few of the players that are still there. So it's as much a marker of that's the level. Don't just assume that you're going to walk into this league and sleepwalk into the top 2 or 3. Ain't going to happen.
Apologies to go back to something Catherine's already sort of touched on, but sort of on the departures since I last spoke to you. Obviously, Sorba's gone out to France, and Jacko and Neo have gone to Barrow. Is there, as much as there's areas where you want to add, are there areas where you feel like there could be more departures like that, maybe players on the fringe of the squad who might benefit from a move away?
I think you'll probably know more in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It'll depend on ins, whether there's any outs always. People might make their own decision that I'm not going to get as much football as what I want. I'll have honest conversations with people if that is going to be the case, if it's the best thing for them and us, because what you don't want is you don't want people unhappy but you can't keep everyone happy either. You know, there are every player. I'd be disappointed if every player isn't disappointed if they're not picked in the starting 11. But with that becomes a responsibility as well. And if that individual, whoever it is, or it might not appear, starts going against the group and against the grain, and it's going to start affecting the bigger picture, that's when it becomes a problem. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it become quite amicable. You know, Jacko was a perfect example. I had an honest conversation with him, told him, look, I think for the betterment of his career, he wasn't going to get the football that he wants. So we came to an agreement that it was best for him and his career, and better for us that he moved to Barrow and furthered his career. So it doesn't always have to be, I want people out. Sometimes it's just a conversation.
Yeah. Where are you on sort of rotation policy, things like that? Is it the case that just because someone's not picked on Saturday, obviously you've got the Cup on Tuesday, which gives another opportunity to look maybe at some different players. We'll talk about that then, I'm sure. But is it a case of keep working away and your opportunity will come?
Yeah, it's always the way. I always, again, things I say to players is, if you come and knock on my door and say, well, am I not on the team, and I can go because of this, and this, then that's on you. The moment a player knocks on the door and says, well, why am I not on the team? I've done this, and I've done that, and I've done this, and I've done that, and if that keeps going, that's probably when they know, look, I'm not going to play here, it's time to move on. So sometimes you've got to put it back on the player and go, are they doing everything they can to get in the team? Sometimes players hit a level and it's just like, well, you're not going to get in the team. But that's an open, honest conversation. So yeah, that's just part of the job.
I meant more in sort of a positive sense, perhaps, for this weekend, because looking at your back three and I mean your central midfield, centre forwards, kind of everywhere really. It feels like you're going to have to leave someone out that's going to be unhappy. I know to a certain extent that's football, but I think there's players who you'd look at from this summer and say they've looked really good. They probably deserve to be in the team, but there's not enough places for them. That must be the nice kind of difficult conversation.
That's the tough part of the job, when you're disappointing people that are giving you everything. That is a hard part of the job, because I'm watching lads giving everything in training, doing everything in training, and you can't find a spot for them. So, but quite very rarely does this team, when I walk in the door, you go, well, that's my team, you think. Then first game of the season, you're going to pick a team, and it's changed, and the last game of the season, it won't be the same as the first game of the season. So it moves quickly. Some people need to wait, some people need an opportunity, some people need someone else's misfortune. But no, we are going to have to leave some good players out of the team. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But as I said, it's not 11 players will get you promoted. Yeah, you're going to need, and it's cliche, and that's when you see the real signs of how together a group are. Talk's cheap. Oh, we're together. You hear it all the time. We're a great set of lads. What a great bunch of lads these are. Well, normally there's a couple of eggs in there. So I'm not saying I've seen that. I haven't seen that at all. But the real stuff hasn't started yet. And it's important that the players remind each other and themselves that what they've said 6 weeks ago can't change now, because they've committed to that. Yeah. And that's where the self-policing within the squad comes in. As well, you were all right 3 weeks ago, but now you've not played the first couple of games. You're turning into that egg that we're talking about. We don't want that. So hopefully that won't happen. But yeah, it moves quickly, football. It's very rarely the same starting 11 for the first 4 games of the season.
You've got that leadership group now. I think some fans are a bit surprised at some of the younger players that might be involved in that group, but is that about having people that are sort of representative of all the different social groups, all the different levels of play you've got at the club, having someone that they feel is approachable with stuff?
Yeah, they've all got an opinion.
Yeah.
So I stand up on a Monday morning, for example, and go, what do you think, lads? Well, Hoggy will give me an answer, and Tom Lees will give me an answer, and Matty Pearson will give me an answer, because they've played the most games, they've got the most experience. But just because of that doesn't mean their opinion's always right. So, someone said something to me the other day about this, and said, well, Misha is not in it. Well, Misha captained the team on Friday night. But the older ones generally hang around together, so if they've got an issue that they want to report into that group, they just tell the people they knock around with. Yeah. So I don't want everyone that's of the same, from Yorkshire, 33, and play 500 league games, because they don't know what the young kids are thinking. Yeah. And their opinion is just as important, because we can't just cater for 2 or 3. On nights out, for example, I don't want to go, well, let's go there because that's what they want, and you get all the young lads who think, well, that's no interest in that. So it's trying to get a balance of basically the group's voice.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, you're not going to please everybody, but rather than... I was that senior player. What do you think? I'll give you my opinion. What do you think? I'll give you my opinion. There's someone sat there, they've all got an opinion because they all go into their family and speak, and they all speak to their agent. But sometimes they don't voice it in front of a group of 30 people. Well, if they voice it in their own little groups, that can get put into the leadership group, which is a little bit more open, and then it could be anonymous then as well. It's just someone's opinion from the group. So that's the idea of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not a case of I don't think someone like Mish is a leader, because if I didn't think that, I wouldn't give him the captain's armband. So yeah, there's a bit more method to it than just picking the old ones.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Let's get the microphone over. Leon from the Yorkshire Post, you're next up, please.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you. I know you've spoken about coming in and observing players and good habits. It sounds like, I know talk's cheap, but you've seen a lot of what you're pleased with in terms of into how the players are conducting themselves in training and how they've come together. It's been a good start. I know you always say it's a window into your Saturdays in the window into your working week, and you've seen a lot that you're pleased with by the sound of it.
Yeah, I've seen your wallpaper's not got any better. I know that. Yeah,
you want to say others, don't they?
It's now I've been. It's the first day of the season, so it's all shiny new, and everyone's being really nice. But I think genuinely, when the grafters got hard, and they have worked hard, we said we wanted them fit and fresh, and we think that at that point, I think last week against Sheffield United, we looked fit but tired because they've been in for 12 or 13 days straight. There was the Limassol game where they looked knackered. But ultimately, are they fit? I think they're fit, and they look fresh going into the game, which is where you want them to be at the end of in pre-season. But no, I've been really pleased with a lot of what I've seen, and I said not just from the football point of view. I mean the staff. I mean from the messaging from above. You come into the stadium and there's a feel of sort of positivity that only carries you so far. Ultimately we have to put a team out that the supporters are proud of, and the team that's going to win more games than it loses.
Yeah, you don't have to stop training or anything like that yet, then.
No, not yet. No, that was, but different club, different times. It's I'm sure we will have to, because ultimately, I think you need to set high standards, and they've set those standards, and if they slip below them, that's on them. So we need to make sure that it gets driven from me and the staff, but it's also then important that they take account for their own standards and their own actions.
Can I ask you about Ben Wiles? He obviously came in, he's had a good pre-season. He came in last year, a decent price tag. He'd left his hometown club, and sometimes that's never easy, and it never quite went for him. But there's a lot of the people in football. There's certainly a player in there, and he's got a lot of attributes you like, and then hopefully you can tap into that this season, because he could potentially be a pretty big player, I think.
I think he's a good player. Again, like I said, there's a lot of noise about a lot of people and a lot of things when I walked into the stadium. So I think he's been great. Walsey, as most of them have, I haven't had a problem with anyone really. But he's come back. He's looked fit. I know he had a difficult time in terms of in and out of the team and injuries and things like that. But I've asked him what he wants. I've told him his responsibilities are within the team. With and without the ball, because that's my job, and then it's his job to execute it, and he's done it well so far. So hopefully he can be a big player for us. He's coming into the prime of his career in terms of his age and everything like that. And he had a difficult year last year, but hopefully he's come through that wiser, more experienced, and better for it. I'm exactly the same. I had a difficult year myself last year. The club had a difficult year last year. So we've all had a little bit of shared hardship. So how do you make yourselves better for the benefit of us and the football club?
Yeah, and there's one thing. I mean, I think you touched on it when you were at Barnsley after that first game against Plymouth. You learn a lot about your side on this first day, and whatever happens, hopefully, it's positive. But when you come off that pitch at Peterborough, because it's a very stiff examination, you'll know a bit more whatever happens.
Yeah, Absolutely. You'll know more when we name a team. You'll learn more about the group just in the next 24 hours when we actually name the team, and we'll learn more about the 11 that start, who can impact the game, who doesn't impact the game. So yeah, every day's a learning day. It's just the world that we live in. It's ever evolving, ever moving, and I think the moment you think you've got football worked out, you're done. You know, I felt that as a player when I was 38. I hadn't worked it out, and I'm, you know, a lot older than that now, and a few more games down the line, and you know, you haven't worked out. You can always improve and be better, but one thing I'm hoping we don't get played off the park like that first game at Barnsley. That's one thing.
Yeah. I was going to ask you finally about Spencer, who's obviously signed a new deal, and it was a bit of a ray of sunshine in the final bit of last season when it was really difficult for the club, and he's come through. He looks like an old head on young shoulders. He's a defender as well. He must really enjoy working with him. He looks a very good talent, all being well.
Yeah, he's got some brilliant attributes. His mentality is really good, and you know the club are protecting the asset. We're taking the option up, and I think Brodie's another one. I think I can improve him. I've got a track record of improving defenders. Hopefully, if he listens, and which he has done, and he takes it on, he become better, which would be good for him and good for us. Like I said, if the team are winning and he's playing well, that's great for him, me, the football club. It's always that win-win situation. But no, he's. I knew a little bit about Brodie anyway with the Northern Ireland background. I knew quite a few people that knew of him anyway. I think he's got 8 or 9 caps at a 20-year-old, so he is a valuable asset for the football club, and hopefully he can help us achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah, best of luck, Michael. I'll get the decorators in next week, don't I?
Cheers, Leon.
Thanks, Leon. We'll finish with Jim.
Recording
Jim
in
Conlon
progress.
online. Thank you.
Hi, Michael. Michael, just to start off there, I suppose, in terms of priorities, a packed fixture schedule this year, probably more games for Huddersfield, and with the FA League trophy out in earlier rounds of the Cup as well. In terms of prioritising Huddersfield's season, how big does the squad have to be dealing with the extra games, and what is the focus? I presume league is the priority.
Yeah, the league's always the priority. League's always the priority. You've obviously got the other cup competitions where sometimes it's more important to get people minutes who haven't had a lot of football. But any game that we play, we'll be trying to win. You know, I'm not one for just rocking up and going, we'll put that team out, because it wasted my time and wasted the supporters' time. So, you know, the team won't always be the same for cup competitions. But there are rules in place that you can't make wholesale changes and change the complete 11. But whatever 11 we're against, we'll want to put a team out that wins, because that's what we're trying to breed. I've just said we're trying to change the mentality of the football club, that surviving isn't good enough, nicking a draw here isn't good enough, it's win. So yes, there will be priorities. The league is obviously the main priority, because that's where the club wants to get back out of this league. But you need to keep players, you need to keep them motivated. You need to give them little carrots that there is a chance. You need to give them opportunities to prove that they're good enough. So it's getting that balance of everything, but ultimately it's to win.
Yeah, I suppose, Michael, one thing for the last few years with Huddersfield is having a goal scorer in double digits in terms of the season. There's been a spread of goals, but going back now a few years ago, there hasn't been really a sharpshooter who has hit really prominent sort of form. And I suppose strikers have come in Huddersfield at the last few seasons, midway through the season, with Rhys Healy, for example, who had a good record out in France and Watford. And how important is it to them to get a pre-season under the belt and maybe to come in with a new fresh emphasis? Hard to come in and hit the form and bang goals in with a side that is struggling down the championship.
Well, we're hoping that, you know, Rhys's injury record is well documented, and he's actually had a chat with him today in terms of, I think he's trained pretty much. I think he's trained every day pre-season, and in the last couple of weeks he's starting to show us why the football club bought him and why he's been at those clubs that you just mentioned. So we're hoping that he's going to be a big player for us. Like I said, we are still looking for at least one more in that area. I think everywhere else we look fully covered, but that's the one part. But like I said, you don't always get what you want, and there's an opportunity for somebody. Who's going to put their hand up? You know, you're going to pick 11 players. And everyone assumes that somebody that isn't at the football club is better than someone who's at the football club. It's the cycle of coaching. You know, you sign somebody new, and you can do this, and this, and 6 months later, all you say is, well, he can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this. Then you go and sign someone who's exactly the same player. So work with what you've got is my job. Do you always want more and better? Absolutely. But sometimes you look too far ahead or too far in the distance, and you don't see what's underneath. So there's been opportunities. I think Reece has been a big player. Bojan's obviously had a disappointing pre-season because we've not been able to get him fit. But, you know, Josh Karoma, Keane Harrott, we are looking to add. There's been goals. I think we've scored every pre-season game against some really good opposition. Midfielders have chipped in. We'll need centre-half to chip in. So, ideally, you want a big contribution from everyone, because if you have one player that scores all of your goals and he gets injured, then you've got nothing else. If you can get one player that scores 20 and the rest of them all score 5 or 6, then that's the holy grail.
And finally, for me, Michael, we know about the bread and butter stuff in terms of defending set pieces and attacking set pieces. And with Matty Pearson and Tom Lees, when Huddersfield were going well, there was such an aerial threat in terms of in opposing defence's box. And I suppose with Radino, if you get Balker, if you get him back on the field as well, massive size there in terms of centre half. So it's probably something that you'll be looking to exploit in terms of set pieces and try and get Matty and Balker and Tom Lees on the end of some of those deliveries.
Well, I think Misha was top goal scorer last year with 9 goals, so we don't want that to happen again. We want our top goal scorer to have more goals, but we still want to be a threat from set plays. One thing that the club was good at last year in a difficult league, they were good at set plays for and good defensively from set plays. It's probably the bit in between the two boxes wasn't as good. So it's trying to keep that strength and adding to it, because no matter what we think, there'll be games that are won and lost on a set play this year. Even the Sheffield United game, you know, for all our good play and for all their good play, we've ended up not winning the game because someone's not followed up from a free kick. Those little tiny things can't happen, because over a season that will affect you where you finish in the season.
Cheers, Michael. Thank you.
Top man.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you, Pete.
Shopping, working, and relaxing online can attract various digital threats. To improve your protection against them, just turn on NordVPN. This cybersecurity app will block web trackers and malware-infected sites. It will also encrypt your internet traffic without losing a smooth connection. Get NordVPN now. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.